Those are beautiful. That was too hard.
Oh, that was perfect. Oh, I'm
Good morning. My name is Catherine McHugh, and I am a member of this Unitarian Universalist Area Church in Sherburne, and my pronouns are she and her. And in the spirit of flexibility, for the first time, I'm not going to use a script. I'm just going to say, welcome to this place where you will be accepted, comforted, challenged, and most of all, you will be invited to fully be yourself and to perennially grow.
Thank you, Catherine. That's a challenge for all of us, right? To not go through life using a script, but to be present to what is. My name is Frank Clarkson. I'm your sabbatical minister for the 3 months while your Reverend Nathan is away. So honored and happy to be here with you all. I just want to say to start, thank you for coming. It wouldn't be the same without you. Seriously. Let's take a moment to say also thanks for coming for those folks who are with us online, and there you are, and here we are, and we're all here together, right? You know this, but maybe you don't get around to doing and going online. Sign Up Genius, you can bring flowers, you can ring the bell, you can bring stuff for coffee hour. So please do that as you can. It's another way of showing up. I also want to remind you that we're having a fun and happy special coffee hour with, on one side, shopping, on the other side, food that people have brought, comfort foods for coffee hour. So please make time to come downstairs after the service. The Good is New shop is open for its unusual, rare opportunity after church for church folks. You get in there early, and then the public is invited, I think, starting at noon. It goes till 3. So come and do a little bit of shopping for somebody you love, and help yourself at coffee hour. I look forward to seeing you all there. I also have been told to tell you that the fairy garden is now open. I don't know what that means exactly, but if you know, you know, right? Conversations for Midlife happen this Tuesday at 6:30. And gosh, maybe that's all I need to tell you. If you'd like to include a prayer, a spoken prayer in our prayer time, the cards are over there. You're welcome to come forward and light candles whenever you like. And now Megan is going to offer some words about stewardship, and Ben about Mythbusters 2, which is just around the corner. So Megan and Ben, thank you.
Good morning, friends. My name is Megan Nunez. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm here today as a member of the Stewardship Committee. It's still a little chilly outside, so it might be hard to believe, but the end of April is here, and with it, the end of our pledge drive season. Our congregation is self-supporting, which means that everything around here, we're supporting ourselves as a community without financial support from the UUA. Our annual fund is our most important project, which funds our salaries for our staff, health insurance, which is going up a lot this year, heat, electricity, and all those other mundane but vital things that we need to have our congregation function. Supporting the church with financial resources is one of the ways that we show our values, and we are grateful for each and every pledge that contributes to the whole. To show our gratitude, today we will have our final drawing for a gift card for the Fireside Tavern. Everyone who has made a pledge has their name in this box somewhere. Can I have a drum roll, please? Let's see. Deb Barnett. Congratulations. In the design on the wall to your right, we've been adding colorful hearts to the petals, each one representing an annual fund pledge to express our gratitude for every contribution that you have made. At next week's coffee hour on Sunday, May 3rd, we will host a small celebration for the end of the pledge season. Even if you didn't win one of our drawings, please come by for cake. We have a slide up here showing where we are with our pledge drive. Unfortunately, as you can see, we're only about 3/4 of the way to our final goal. So if this announcement reminds you that, oops, you haven't quite gotten around to making your pledge, you can still do it this week and help us to plan a responsible budget for the next fiscal year, which starts in July. You can use the QR code on the screen. We have cards on the side table if you like paper better. Or you can easily go to the church website, and there's a great big button that says donate here. If you have any questions, please find one of us wearing one of these buttons at coffee hour, and we'd be more than happy to help. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben Lane. I use he, him pronouns. If you missed the Mythbusters events last fall, or if you enjoyed them so much that you want to go back and get some more, you are in luck, because backed by popular demand, our own clinical psychologist, Dr. Barb Fritz, and her team of fabulous panelists will return next Sunday, May 3rd, for Mythbusters 2.0, a deeper dive into your questions about the LGBTQ+ community. Attendance at the first event is not a prerequisite for this one. You can come, and Dr. Fritz will review some of the original material, but also spend time on your questions and specific areas of interest. Inspired by OWL, we created a question box to get more questions, where you can anonymously submit questions or ask for a friend. The questions could be things like, do you want to know more about terms and language, or science and medicine, or law, the lived experience, or how to be supportive? And there's the question box, so please help us out. We're hoping that if you can fill out questions this Sunday, then that gives Dr. Fritz time to potentially research answers for more complicated questions. We'd love to hear from you. Also remember, this is just after the cake, so once you're done with the cake next Sunday, come join us for Mythbusters. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben, and thanks, Megan. And now it's time for our Sunday Spotlight. As you can see, this week our Sunday Spotlight is focusing on pluralism, and the invitation in sharing your love this week is to remember the last dance, the 2026 gathering of nations, that after 43 years, the largest North American powwow is ending. For 4 generations of sacred drumming, dancing, and singing, echoing the rhythms of the earth. There are other powwows around. We can look for them, and those native folks remind us we are still here. We are still here. Let's take a moment now and greet those around us.
Good morning. I am your ministerial intern here at UUAC. My name is Ian Evans. My pronouns are he, him. Our opening words come from Sophia Faz. It matters what we believe. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days and fears of unknown calamities.
Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with warmth of happiness.
Some beliefs are divisive, separating saved from unsaved, friends from enemies.
Other beliefs are bonds in the world of community, where sincere differences unify the
Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness.
Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich the feeling of personal worth.
Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling, ever growing with the thrust of life. Please rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 1018, Come and Go With Me.
I invite you to remain standing, if you will, while Rosie comes forward and lights our chalice, the symbol of our free faith, and the reminder that when we are gathered, the Spirit is moving in our midst. Rosie, you want to come help me lead folks in saying the covenant?
Sure.
Okay. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
This is our great covenant,
To dwell together in peace, to
sing
seek truth
truth and love,
and to help one another. From all that dwell below the skies, let songs of romance arise. Let peace goodwill on earth be sung through every land by every tongue.
I would love to invite all young people or people who are just young at heart up to the front. Good morning. That's a good idea, Rosie. Can we take a big breath together? Okay. Can I get a hand to open the Wonder Box this morning? What's in there?
Pig with a jetpack.
Can you say it again?
A pig with a jetpack.
A pig with a jetpack. Thank you so much. JetPig, the acronym, that's right. So, JetPig, the acronym, is one way that we can talk about ourselves as Unitarian Universalists and the things that we care about and value. But I have a kind of a broader question, which is, what is Unitarian Universalism? Rosie.
JetPig, putting love at the center.
Putting love at the center. Yeah. Any other ideas? What is this thing we're doing? Yeah. Coming to church every Sunday, absolutely. That's part of it. That can be part of it. Putting good into the world. I like that. Yeah. So JetPig, some people might know about JetPig here, which is a pig with a jetpack that you might have seen sitting up front, just like that. And JetPig is an acronym. Does anyone know what it's an acronym for? I'm going to see if anyone else. Do you know? A pig flying. Yeah, it is a pig flying. Rosie, do you know?
Justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interconnectedness, and generosity, correct?
Nailed it. Absolutely. Those are our UU values. And so we can remember all of those 6 values because they have the acronym JETPIG. Justice, equity, transformation, JET. Pluralism, interconnectedness, generosity. PIG. And that's why you have this fun little guy. Yeah. You can say what? Who said pigs can't fly? Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, with our faith, anything's possible. There you go. So, does anyone want to catch JetPig? So, while you're holding JetPig, I have an even simpler way to remember what it means for us to be Unitarian Universalists. And it might be one that you've heard before. So, can you all put out your hands for me? Put out 2 hands. Say, we are Unitarian Universalists. Repeat after me. We are Unitarian Universalists with hands that hold. Now put your hands over your heart. With hearts that feel. Put your hands to your head. And heads that think. All right, one more time with me. Ready? We are Unitarian Universalists with hands that hold, hearts that feel, and heads that think. So, if you have friends that ever ask you, what is this thing you're going to on Sunday, you know what you can tell them now. You can either tell them all about JetPig, or you can tell them all about your hands, your heart, and your mind. And that you come to church every Sunday to honor all those things. So thank you so much for joining me up front. We are now going to sing our children as they go to classes. Thank you so much for joining us. And I will take JetPig back. Thank you. So glad you're here.
as we get to hear that youthful energy going where they're going, it's a good time to take another breath as we drop down into this time for prayer and meditation and silence. Let's enter this time by singing The Lone Wild Bird. There's a prayer for us, right? Great Spirit, come and rest in me. We begin our prayers with your expressions of joy and sorrow and gratitude. Oh, thank you, Adam. I thought we might go a little out of order this morning. First, prayers for our nation and for our world. And so, in this time of division and violence in our own nation, let us be ones praying for peace and for justice. And also, let us pray for other nations in the world that are particularly troubled, people in harm's way, racked by violence and war, especially for the people of Iran and the people of Ukraine and the people of Sudan. Thank you, Adam. And if you'd like to name other places or people in the wider world you'd like to include in our prayers this morning, I encourage you to do that. All the Middle East. And now our prayers for our loved ones. From Molly, for the family of Dick Howlett, who died unexpectedly on Thursday. He's been a good and close friend to my husband for all of his life. Also, a prayer from Sierra in memory of her cats, Ben and Katrina, and also the beautiful flowers in memory of those beloved creatures. And I invite you, if you are so moved, to name aloud those you would also include in our prayers this morning. Carrie. Peggy. Thank you, Adam. Now our prayers and expressions of thanksgiving. From Amy, gratitude for music and for her spring performances coming up. If you want to know more, she'll tell you about them at coffee hour. For this slowly unfolding spring, for flowers blooming all around us, and for your expressions of gratitude. Please name them aloud as you wish. For this congregation, these people. Spirit of life and love and goodness, hear our prayers, the ones we say out loud, the ones we whisper under our breath, the ones that are quietly still forming in our hearts. Prayers and thanksgivings and meditations for life and the gift of life and the fragility of life. For those in harm's way and danger. For those facing surgery or uncertainty. For those who are struggling. For those who are exiles or in prison. Hear our prayers, Great Spirit, also for the gifts of this life. The ability to gather. For these hearts and minds and bodies that we have been entrusted with for a time. For this community and other communities that companion us on our way. For sunlight and shadow, for music and for silence, for all these gifts. For what rises up now as we continue our prayers for a moment and our meditations now for a moment, together here in silence. Blessed be, and amen.
So every week we are honored and grateful that we are able to give 100% of our offering away to an organization that lives out our values of justice, service, love, and peace. And this week we are giving to UU Mass Action. UU Mass Action envisions a world where all people are honored and loved, and they work to mobilize and organize UUs from across the state to confront systemic oppression. They work in multiple different fields, so many. They have so much happening right now. If you go to their website, housing justice, climate justice, racial justice, and right now, crucially, immigration justice and LGBTQ issues and justice. So they are, I have found personally that every time I have looked at a protest or been going to an event and I have looked at the organizational sponsors at the bottom of the flyer, UU Mass Action always seems to show up there. They are doing a lot in the state. They're doing a lot right now, and they are truly living out our UU values. So thank you so much for your generosity today. The QR code is on the screen and in the pews, and there are baskets coming around for cash or checks. And thank you so much.
I can tell by the way you're walking that you don't want company. I'll let you alone and I'll let you walk on, and in your own good time you'll be back where the sun can find you, under a wise wishing tree, and with all of them made, we lie under the shade and call it a jubilee.
I can tell by the way you're talking that the past isn't letting you go. There's only so long you can take it all on, then the wrong's gonna be on its own. And when you're ready to leave it behind you, you look back and all that you see is the wreckage and rust that you left in the dust on your way to the Jubilee.
And I can tell by the way you're listening that you're still expecting to hear your name being called like a summons to all who have failed to account for their doubts and their fears. They can't add up to much without you. And so if it were just up to me, I'd take hold of your hand, saying, come hear the band, play your song at the Jubilee.
I can tell by the way you're searching for something you
standing, with your eyes filling with tears, that its habit alone keeps you turning for home, even though your home is right here. And the people who love you are gathered under the wise wishing tree. May we all be considered and straight on delivered down to the Jubilee. 'Cause the people who love you are waiting, and the wait is as long as need be. When we look back and say those were halcyon days, we're talking about Jubilee.
Today's reading is from Article 2 of our bylaws. It's section C 2.2, Values and Covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant, congregation to congregation, and through our association, to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, equity.
So it used to be that I got a lot of questions about what it meant to be Unitarian Universalist. I imagine I'm not the only one. Have other people gotten those questions before? This sermon's for you. So this past church year, on Sunday mornings after our announcements, we've had a special section called the Sunday Spotlight. If the Sunday Spotlight team, I think you're all here. Can you raise your hands? People who put it together? Thank you for doing that. And the goal of this is to highlight one of these. Does anyone know what these are? You can shout it out. Values. These are shared UU values with love at the center. And the reason for highlighting them every Sunday and for having these little placards around the church and bookmarks, pick one of these up, is because these are relatively new and you might still be unfamiliar with them. Even with the help of the Sunday Spotlight team and the Love at the Center book club and everyone who is helping to educate others about these values, we haven't really talked about it from the pulpit yet. And I felt that that should change. I want to talk about what they mean to me, how they keep me anchored, and hopefully it can do the same to you, so that next time someone asks you, what is this thing you do on Sunday, you will have an answer. So let's start with a bit of history, and I want to take you back to what seems like the ancient past of 2024. At the annual gathering of UUs called General Assembly, or GA, we're UUs, we love our acronyms, and there was something on a big vote on something called Article 2 that you just heard in our reading. And Article 2 used to have principles, 7 or 8 principles that listed things that we as UUs covenant and affirm to promote. Covenant to affirm and promote. And I'm not going to go over all 7 right here. I will just say they were all good things. And I think I'd be hard-pressed to find a UU today that doesn't still affirm and promote what is listed in the principles. But in 2024, General Assembly voted to amend the bylaws, radically change the principles, and voted in this. Now we have this organic shape of 6 values: interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, and equity. So you go ahead and take a look. Which one is speaking to you at this moment? Why? So, of course, we also have love at the center of all 6. And you may have heard people say love at the center, and this is what we mean. So before we get into the values, I want to answer what we mean when we say keep love at the center. What do we mean by love? Why is it at the center of anything, let alone these values? Love is a very complex word, not unlike the word God. Love is a big word, and it can mean very different things depending on the context and who is talking. And perhaps unsurprisingly, the definition of love that I most vibe with for our purposes today is an ecological one. From Reverend Adam Robert Smith, who says, love is the active realization of relation. Love is the active realization of relation. What does that mean? Under this definition of love, love is not so much an emotion, but the realization that I am fully and inexorably entangled in this life with you as you are with the person next to you. Relationship. As you are with the trees outside and the worms in the ground and all life. And so to love is to strengthen those relationships, to be active about it. Which brings us, of course, to our first value, interdependence. Love, the active realization of relation, means that connecting with love, with our relationships, makes us aware of how much we depend on each other. We are not alone. We are not an island. We are woefully, sometimes frighteningly interdependent with each other and with all life. To truly hold love, we then must value interdependence. And these values, you see, are often described as a flower. This shape is often described as a flower. But that description has never quite worked for me. In the same way that I think Reverend Robert Smith's definition of love leads us inexorably to interconnection, so too I believe it will lead us to the rest. Not like a flower, but a chalice, a flame, from which come trails of smoke that could not exist without that flame at the center. Each curl of smoke depends first and foremost on love. Let's move on to pluralism. What does it mean, this word pluralism? In Article 2, it says, we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. That is pluralism. celebrating the infinite different ways that we each move through the world, living and holding those differences in love. If love is the active realization of relation, what does it mean to actively realize a relationship? I would argue that to actively realize a relationship, that we are connected, is to come to terms with the fact that my fate is tied up with yours, much like interconnection. This world is infinitely complex, and we will fall short of loving it if we only know how to move through it as ourselves. We need everyone to move through it with us. We need all ways of being. For everyone is different, and so to love everyone, to be in relationship with all things, means to love the diversity of all things, of all people, of all life. To navigate the world, we have to be in it together, even with people who are very different from us. And so to celebrate love truly, we must value pluralism, justice. This one feels a little bit like a gimme, but Article 2's expansion on what they mean by justice, what it means to be living into the value of justice, says in part, we covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We simply cannot value love and support systems of hate. Social, political, cultural systems that inherently value some lives more than others. It's hierarchy and it's hate. And this is hard because we do live in and among systems that hate, systems that oppress. We work for them. We depend on them to pay the rent. How many immigrant and Black communities were destroyed to build the highways that we drive on, that I drove on to get here this morning? And it is still those communities that disproportionately suffer most from the increased pollution. We buy groceries at stores that are at the long tail end of systems that exploit everyone down the line, from fruit picker to truck driver to grocer. These are capitalistic systems with few winners and many losers. Systems that value money and power above all for the sake of money and power. And I'm reminded of a bell hooks quote, "There is no love without justice." If we remain unable to imagine a world where love can be recognized as a unifying principle that can lead us to seek and use power wisely, then we will remain wedded to a culture of domination that chooses power over love. There is no love without justice. If love is relational, then we must build just systems built on a value of relationship. We must build systems that value each other, that value the earth. And like roots growing beneath a road, love calls on us to break through the old ways, to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. There is no love without justice. Transformation. I want to go back to that definition of love from Reverend Robert Smith. Love is the active realization of relation. My daughter has recently gotten interested in who my wife and I were before we had her. And so we were looking back at old photos of when we first met, and man, we were young. Do you ever get that feeling, looking back? Like, who even were those people, right? They did not know what the future really looked like, did they? The thing about relationships is that they're not static. They transform. We transform. I am not the same person I was when I first stepped into this church almost 2 years ago. I didn't plan that, I swear. I am not the same person I was when I got married, nor is my wife. Life is change. Or to quote bell hooks again, all that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. And so the active realization of relation must also be the active realization of change, transformation. To truly love something, you must love it into and through its changes. We must value transformation. Generosity. If we want to actively build relationships with another being, that definition of love from Robert Smith, we have to be generous. Generous with our time, with our energy, with our resources, with ourselves. If we want to build relations with an institution, a social justice organization, a protest, a church, we have to be generous. There's simply no other way around it. And that is often what we are explicitly taught not to do, isn't it? We are often taught to hoard wealth. Society often tells us to get ours, to look out for ourselves, as if we were not intimately tied with everything else. I'm pretty sure that Robin Wall Kimmerer's book, The Serviceberry, has been quoted multiple times this year from this pulpit, maybe even this quote, so forgive me, but it was too perfect. In a gift economy, writes Kimmerer, wealth is understood as having enough to share. And the practice for dealing with abundance is to give it away. In fact, status is determined not by how much one accumulates, but by how much one gives away. The currency of a gift economy is relationship, which is expressed as gratitude, as interdependence, and the ongoing cycles of reciprocity. A gift economy nurtures the community bonds that enhance mutual well-being. The economic unit is we rather than I, as all flourishing is mutual. I think that's what generosity means. All flourishing is and can be mutual. Generosity is a way of caring for and being in relationship with and to the world. There's a way of loving the world, isn't it? And each other. To love is to be generous. Which brings us at last to equity. There's this picture I've seen a few times to represent the differences between equality and equity that other people in here might have seen before. There's 3 people, and they're all trying to watch a soccer game. There's a tall person, a shorter person, and someone in a wheelchair. But there's a problem. They're all watching from behind a fence. And so for equality, each person is treated equally. They're all given a box to stand on. And so the tall person can stand on the box and watch the game just fine. And the shorter person can just barely peek over. And the person in the wheelchair can't use the box at all. For equity, the shorter person is given 2 boxes. The person in the wheelchair is given a ramp. everyone can watch the game together. Which is to say that equity, not equality, but equity, is relational. For true equity, we have to recognize where we have been privileged enough to see over the fence at times and where others struggle. We have to recognize the places we need to give more, the places where we have struggled ourselves in life, and the places where we have been able to watch the game just fine. To overcome injustice and create a world in which everyone can flourish with dignity, with love and compassion, where everyone can watch the soccer game, we have to understand how people are impacted by systems. Systems that might be invisible to us, where it might seem like, well, everyone's getting a box. Isn't that fine? To awaken the need for equity, we have to be in relationship with those who are able to tell us, no, that one box is not enough. If love is the active realization of relation, then to truly love is to value and fight for equity. So I want you to take another look. And I want you to think about which value speaks to you now. Maybe it's the same one. Maybe it's a different one. Maybe you have thoughts on all the 6 values I just went over. Did it change? If we love the world, truly love it, if we want to build a world that is based on love, keeping love at the center of our life, if we want to keep it at the center of our faith, then our actions and our lives, then these 6 values are not only wonderful and meaningful, but inevitable. When we keep love at the center of our life and our faith and our actions and our lives, these values appear like smoke from a flame. So now I want you to turn to the person next to you or in front of you and tell them which of the values spoke to you most. Keep that flame alight inside, my friends. We will live out our faith by keeping love at the center and building a new world and a new way through our values. And so I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way.
We are building
Please say with me our call to ministry. We go forth into the world in peace to act with works of love, to affirm each person's dignity, and to cherish the living earth. Rather than the usual benediction, I invite you to take one of these values that was calling to you, maybe down to coffee hour or to a neighbor, to talk about it more with others. For our faith is alive and it is relational. Go and be in relation with each other. May it be so, and blessed be. Amen.